For many players, one of the biggest problems in this game right now is the matchmaker. Fast battles, one-sided battles, unbalanced teams, unbalanced tanks, and so on. You know, all the things. But today, Wargaming is releasing an article, Matchmaker, where we are and where we are going. So let's see if they acknowledge this problem, how they are approaching it, and so on. I did take a quick look at it, and I gotta say there are some very good things over there, but let's see the entire picture together over here, right? So this is going to be kind of like an article type of discussion, podcast, and I would like to have a discussion together with you as well in the comment section, guys. What do you think about this, upcoming changes, and also what do you think about the current matchmaker, in your opinion, because players are different, playstyles different, and all the things. So, commanders. There is probably no single system in the game that shapes your experience more directly than the matchmaker. It decides who you battle, what you battle, and how balanced the battle feels before the first shot is fired. When it works well, you barely notice it. When it doesn't, it's hard to ignore. I would not 100% agree. Because when it works well, I guess they mean when the battle is 15-5, 15-2 victory, or you lose 2-15, 5-15, right? In both cases, if you have been watching my Twitch or my YouTube, in both cases I do not enjoy the battles actually. Even when you win like with a complete face stomp, it was not an enjoyable fighting experience, to me personally at least. That's why we want to talk about this openly and consistently. What changed in update 2.0, where things still need improvement, and what we are working on next. Okay, so a look back at update 2.0. Before talking about what's next, let's establish where things stand after 2.0. Not to dwell on the past, but because it's important context for the road ahead. Okay. Important context. We like full context, guys. In update 2.0, we rebuilt the matchmaker's core from the scratch. That was structural overhaul, not a surface level fix. It was the necessary groundwork before we could meaningfully address the issues that had been building up for years. With that foundation in place, we tackled several specific issues that were consistently affecting battle's quality. Role balance, yes, that was very, it had very big impact in the matchmaking. For example, let's talk about the tank destroyer balance. You get the city map, your team gets Guerrilla 15, enemy team gets T110E3. Well, T110E3 is probably 5 times more effective, brawling and then fighting like that in most player hands. Of course, good player can make Guerrilla 15 work on a city map as well, even versus E3, but you get the point, right? Role balance, a major improvement. Role balance saw the most significant improvement. Over 97% of the role imbalance battles we had identified at tier 8 to 10 have been eliminated since update 2.0. The infographics below show the difference. Red, battles where the role balance was not maintained. Green, where the role balance was maintained. So previously, I don't have the data, I cannot confirm it or check it, we kind of have to believe it, what they are showing over here. But yeah, before this, it was kind of bad, but after this, at least the roles were balanced. And this is what I've noticed as well, there are many mirror teams even, same tank versus same tank and so on. There are still some questionable role balancing going on. Like maybe one tank should not be part of that role if it can face with like super heavy tanks, for example. Like, many argue that BZ-79 should not be balanced against Taschenrad in tier 11. But, tier 11 is still very young tier, and they are actually the same category, and they are facing each other in the role balancing. How do you feel about this? Is the role balance like the core role balance in place right now, when you compare vehicle to vehicle? Like sniper tank destroyer is facing sniper tank destroyer and so on. This is what I mean over here. Tank Destroyer limits, yes, they did limit up to 5 in most cases, removing T7 to 8 TD. The gap now sits at 5 TDs, but I can say I have seen, not very often, it happens quite rarely, but I have seen 6 TDs as well. More than once, let's say, to the point where I do notice it. But yeah, indeed, most of the times it is capped to 5 TDs per team. Max, on average, 3 to 4. Yeah, okay, we can believe that, right? Because there are battles where there is 1, 2 TDs as well. So on average, it may equal out to 3 to 4. Vehicle distribution also improved, particularly at lower tiers. Identical vehicles are now spread more evenly between teams, and the repetitive mirror match compositions that followed large vehicle releases have been significantly reduced. Yes, indeed, that has been significantly reduced. We have seen that, or I have seen that with the assembly shop events, right? When previously assembly shop started, after 1 hour, matchmaking was filled with the assembly shop tanks. I tried his time as well with the Ashikaru, tried to hunt them with my FE425, and I didn't see more than 4 in most battles. But previously, it was a legit field. The data confirms these improvements are working as intended. But we will be direct update 2.0 was a step forward, not a finish line. Yes. Okay, so there is still work to do. The matchmaker is not where it should be. Several persistent issues require more time, more data, and more careful iteration than a single update allows. And we have been working through them. Like how much data is needed, like how much more data is needed. After update 2.0, we had the big release, we had the holiday ops, we had legit the biggest, most active and highest player counts on any server. Events for months already live. There should be enough data already. These are some improvements we are planning to test and, if everything goes well, bring to the game by the end of summer 2026. By the end of summer, so August batch, I guess, their birthday batch, right? The big celebration event usually in August. I guess this is. So we have, we still have like 5 months to wait. 5-6 months to wait. Half a year, guys. Some of these changes will roll out gradually. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Like they add some easier things, some easier fixes, like the stricter platoon and capping SPGs, I guess. But more about that in a moment. So let's see, guys. What is coming next? That was the introduction. That was a little, foundation, context. What they're working on and how they see things. What is coming next? Light tank sub roles. I have said that so many times as well that something has to be done with light tanks because there are so many maps where the bad balancing of light tanks is literally deciding the battles. On the countdown already. Yes, sometimes it comes down to the player skill level as well, but many times even that doesn't matter. Light tanks play fundamentally different roles on the battlefield, and the matchmaker currently doesn't reflect that. A damage-focused LT and a spotting-focused LT are not the same asset to the team. Indeed. And it goes for... all the situations. Like damage dealing light tank is basically like an extra medium tank on a bad scouting map, and the spotting light tank is completely useless over there, and spotting light tank can easily outspot the, more damage oriented light tank, let's say, with a worse camo. Treating them as equivalent creates imbalances that neither side benefits from. We are planning to introduce 3 sub-role classifications: versatile damage-focused and spotting-focused light tanks. These are based on how these vehicles actually behave in battle. The matchmaker will use these to build more coherent team compositions, ensuring both sides have comparable capabilities rather than just comparable numbers on paper. That is very, very good. I would say so. I would also maybe dabble into the limit of the light tanks as well. Perfect for me personally, let me know what you think about that, please, would be either 0 light tanks or 2. We cannot get away with 1 because, as an example, on a God tier scouting map, we have quite a few of them where scouting is absolutely amazing. If you have only 1 light tank in the battle and your light tank dies, we can say that the battle is like 80% decided already, unless the enemy light tank makes a massive mistake as well. So in this case, 1 light tank would be bad. You have only 1 chance, right? But with 2 light tanks, you have at least 1 more guy alive, and hopefully that guy can hold the enemy light tanks back from pushing in too easily and so on, right? So I would maybe dabble into that as well, because when we have triple light tank action, many times those light tanks are making mistakes because they are fighting with each other, trying to get the spotting going on, right? Or maybe for you this is not an issue. That's why I would like to know if I'm the only one over here. But indeed, you can't put a damage-focused light tank into the same battle. Like, perfect example is Manticore or ELC even 90. And I would maybe go over some of the very specific tanks as well, just like the ELC even 90 is extremely specific tank. We have a lot of them in the matchmaking as well. To give those type of tanks the same treatment as EBR 105 gets, for example. If one team has EBR 105, the enemy team is guaranteed to have EBR as well. And I would love to see the same with ELC even 90. If your team has ELC even 90, enemy team has ELC even 90 as well, and vice versa, Just to balance out the extreme cases. And I would say ELC is kind of an extreme case. Capping SPGs at 2 per team, 3 per team. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, it is noticeably shifts the dynamic of the battle in ways most players find frustrating. We are removing that scenario entirely. I gotta say, I'm lately, the past few months at least, I have almost exclusively played higher tiers, and I have seen the triple RT battles maybe in the past few months, maybe 3 times overall. So in higher tiers, at least, this is not an issue. But I've heard in lower tiers, it happens way, way more often. So that is definitely a good thing for lower tiers. And lower tier art is kind of disgusting as well. Can be. The new hard cap will be 2 SPGs per team. This is about making artillery presence stable and predictable, something players can factor in rather than occasionally be surprised by. 2 per side is the right ceiling, and that's what we are aiming for. Ideally, honestly, 0 or 1, but it's what it is. What it is, right? Right now, I have been getting used to the 2 SPGs per team. We have SPGs in the game. What can I do, right? What can I do? So this is basically for higher tiers. I would say it is not going to affect it too much, but for lower tiers, definitely a big thing. Stricter platoon tier matching. That's another very important and big thing they are looking at and fixing, hopefully sooner rather than later. A platoon of a certain tier should face a platoon of the same tier. The matchmaker doesn't always guarantee that right now, but it should. We're introducing strict tier-based platoon matching across the board. Thank you very much. Getting this right requires careful implementation. We don't want to close one gap while opening another in the form of longer queued times. But the direction is clear, and it's something we are committed to getting right. we have been doing quite a few times lately. We have been doing like triple platoons, you know, tier 10s, tier 11s, especially when playing tier 11s. So often we saw that we are platooned against tier 10 platoons. Like we are triple platoon and against us, yes, there is a guaranteed platoon against us, but many times it was one tier lower and maybe even one tank less in the platoon. Triple platoon versus one tier lower, double platoon. And in 15 versus 15, the platoon tier and the player amount difference matters a lot. Like one top tier platoon can change a lot on the battlefield. So this getting equaled out is fantastic and, strict tier-based platooning. And also it should be strict tier-based and number of players platooning. But I get this could get the queue times quite a bit longer, right? Because depends on the vehicles, what you're playing with, the triple platoon, even in the peak hours with 200,000 players online, let's say, can take some time. Reduce the 2 tier above battles for tier 8 to tier 9. This is a big issue, especially for many players who are playing with tier 8 and just constantly bottom tier Bambis. Constantly. This is one of the most consistent pieces of feedback we hear. For a good reason. It honestly doesn't feel fun to play the bottom tier, like to be a bottom tier boxing bag 80% of the times. Right? We are actively working to reduce the frequency of tier 8 and 9 vehicles being pulled into battles 2 tier above them, and to increase the share of battles where vehicles face opponents of the same or just 1 tier higher. Thank you for that. I honestly would be willing to wait, like, let's say, extra 30 seconds, maybe even 1 minute in the queue to get a proper battle going on, right? I don't need fast queue time to go into the match and be a bottom tier boxing bag every single time. Yes, I understand. I have to be bottom tier sometimes, of course, because if you are going to be top tier, someone has to be the bottom tier, right? You want to be top tier, you have to be bottom tier sometimes as well. Yes, but not like that drastical difference. To clarify, this won't translate into a significant increase in battles against lower tier opponents. The distribution of vehicles in the queue simply doesn't allow for that. Instead of the improvements comes from more evenly matched battles overall, not from shifting the imbalance in the opposite direction. Fewer non-15 versus 15 battles. A 15 versus 15 battle is the standard format for a reason. Smaller battles, the kind that occur during off-peak hours on lower populated servers or under specific queue conditions, should be rare exceptions, not something players run into regularly. We are adjusting how the matchmaker handles constrained queue situations so that the full 15 versus 15 format is consistently protected. Protected, yes. Okay, so let's 15 versus 15s. How often do you see that? And finally, improving matchmaking together. Matchmaking is one of the most complex and consequential systems in the game. Okay. What we are committing to going forward is continued improvement, decisions grounded in data and regular communication. Thank you for that. Okay? Like, hopefully they listen what we are saying. They look in the data. Testing begins on EU1, EU4, and NA3 starting the next regular update. Okay, so we are getting the update testing like with the previous big matchmaker update, the role balance and stuff like that, right? Okay, so we have to look out for that. Update on the matchmaker, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think about that? What do you feel about it? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Whoa, perfect timing, guys. I can hear the boys came back from the kindergarten. It's family time now. Looking forward to your feedback. What else would you change, if anything? What's your take on all of that? Hit me up, guys. Thank you so much for your attention, for tuning in. I see you next time. Bye-bye.